Well, I just figured out who sent the Terminator back through time. What Culture Gaming apparently has a time machine. They know the 10 ways PS5 will destroy the next generation Project Scarlett. One system that plays all PlayStation games? Game over. But no, seriously, I mean, I thought it'd be a little bit of fun to go through here, assess their 10 points, and maybe counter them. Look up some things, do some research, see if they're even telling the truth here. We're going to go over all of them. If you're following along, let me know if you think any of these points are valid in the comments below. Let's get into it. So again, guys, this video is not malicious in any way. Think of it as a polite reply. You know what? If you happen to like this kind of stuff, maybe let me know down below. Hit the like button, share it with as many people as you can. Maybe I'll do more of them. It depends on how this video does. But for now, grab a drink, grab some salt, and let's get into it. So remember, there are 10 reasons that the PS5 will dominate the next Xbox, according to What Culture, and there being 10, obviously at least some of them have to be accurate, right? Well, I would go out on a limb and say number 10 is, could be accurate. Number 10, PlayStation Now can finally challenge Game Pass. That's Xbox Game Pass. Now, many of you know PS Now is a simple streaming service for the PS4 that lets you stream your PlayStation 3 games. And while that was its original intent, it has evolved. The service has several hundred more titles than Game Pass when you count the streamable PS3 games. But among that count are over 300 PS4 games that you can actually download as well. Not only that, but Sony have just cut the price for the service too. $10 a month or $60 a year, which I might add Xbox doesn't do themselves. I'm not talking about sales, I'm talking about the average price set by Sony themselves. Currently, they do provide a year subscription for the price of a new game, while Xbox Game Pass is roughly double that. Keep in mind that if you do pay for these subscription services month by month, they will cost you the same though. Now add to that the fact that Xbox Game Pass has all first-party titles day and date for the same subscription fee. This, I believe, makes up for the differential in yearly cost if you go that route, and it adds a ton of value to the program. I'm talking Gears of War 5, Forza Horizon 4, Halo Infinite, The Outer Worlds, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and so much more for that same exact subscription fee. Until PlayStation Now inevitably does this type of thing, I see Game Pass having the edge. Bottom line is, while most people will not value the streaming aspect of PS Now, there are still hundreds of PS4 games to download and play, all for $10 a month. And hopefully their new price cut and their yearly fee will encourage Game Pass to adopt a similar price for the year. Again, this one, while a great feature of the PlayStation platform, is not necessarily a reason PS5 will dominate, especially given the fan base's reaction to these kinds of services, but it is a good pro-consumer move. It definitely won't hurt. Let's go on to the next one. Number 9, it will revolutionize game audio. Now, What Culture are referencing an interview with Chief Architect Mark Cerny. In this interview, Mark Cerny says that they will have the ability to do ray-traced audio. Now, I don't know about you, but that is not very exciting to me as a hardcore gamer. Yes, I get it, better audio, etc., blah, 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 but at the end of the day, the Xbox platform has been dominating the audio factor for quite some time now, years in fact, with things like Dolby Atmos, yet nobody says a thing. So while audio is definitely important, I don't think anybody's hurting for anything that sounds much better than Dolby Atmos. Ray-traced audio is definitely not going to win the generation for the PS5. And while no one cares about ray-traced audio, Sony finally did confirm hardware-accelerated ray tracing, which will make a big difference, something Project Scarlett confirmed months ago. Question is, which system will do it better? Let me know down below. As viewers of this channel know, hardware accelerated ray tracing is a lot more efficient. You've got physical hardware in the silicon that actually does allow the compute, therefore you save on a ton of performance. But hey, let me know your thoughts on audio ray tracing. Put simply, I do not believe it's going to be nearly as important as What Culture Gaming would like it to be, but hey, who knows, I could be wrong. Number 8, PlayStation Assistant will be a better Kinect. Now in this one, What Culture are referencing a patent that Sony has filed some time ago, meaning that to begin with, it may or may not even come to fruition. Many of these patents, most of them, the vast majority, never even happen. Secondly, you are talking about voice commands. You are talking about asking for a walkthrough and it popping up on screen. Guess what? The Kinect did this in 2013. To me, this is another fail. Nobody really cares. These types of features features are not going to make people buy the console, and they're not really going to push much innovation. They'd be better off doing what Microsoft has finally started doing, which is adopt smarter assistants like Alexa. You can actually ask her to do certain things on your Xbox console instead of having to use Cortana or your Kinect. I think it's wise for Sony to go that same route. But hey, in either case, from what this patent is saying, it's not doing anything crazy, revolutionary, or really all that convenient. It's doing things that were done 7-8 years ago. It's not a big deal, and it's definitely not going to win the PS5 generation. Next. Number 7, VR gaming comes into its own, and it's true. If you are into virtual reality as of right now, we know that Sony are supporting that with the PlayStation 5. This is pretty much the only bet in town when it comes to consoles, but keep in mind that Microsoft has spoken before on letting third-party partners build headsets for their system. Long story short, Sony may not have the only console-capable VR in town. We will have to wait for more on this one. Number 6, an awesome launch lineup. Now this one's actually kind of funny because Sony literally have nothing confirmed for the launch of the PlayStation 5. So again, an article titled 10 Ways the PS5 Will Destroy the Next Xbox, you've got to have more than a maybe. An awesome launch lineup is definitely a maybe. At this point, there are 0 titles confirmed for the launch of PlayStation 5 for obvious reasons. I mean, think about it. Microsoft have at least one game confirmed for the launch of Project Scarlett, and that is Halo Infinite. Sony have announced nothing. On top of that, big games like Last of Us 2 are actually hitting before the PlayStation 5's release. So while I'm sure it'll get a fantastic PS5 patch on day one, as far as brand new software that is coming out to really encourage the purchase of a next generation console, there is 0, nilch, nada, none confirmed. Now speculatively, we can talk about the next Gran Turismo, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or even Ghost of Tsushima, but we cannot count on things like the God of War 2018 sequel or Spider-Man from Insomniac. Those sequels will not be ready in 2020. That is pretty much a guarantee. Again, I'm sure they will have something, but to say the launch lineup will destroy the Project Scarlett is just silly, considering it's actually the only next-gen console without a game announced for it. Let me know if you think Sony will launch with a major AAA title day one for the PS5, and of course the Project Scarlett as well. Aside from Halo Infinite, what will they have? Personally, I've been there through the entire generation where both sides have had major droughts, so I'm not expecting a ton. But hey, that's just me. Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on. Number 5, remote play will be a huge focus. Oh man, why not put this at like number 10 or something? Like, why is this in front of big games, right? Like, the remote play's been around for years and years and years, right? And even now, Sony do not push it. Now, when it comes to cloud streaming, that's a different story, but that's also tied into PlayStation Now, especially after they just signed a memorandum with Microsoft to utilize Azure servers for both their multiplayer games and their cloud services. That streaming quality is going to rise exponentially and do it at a higher fidelity than ever. But when it comes to remote play, no one cares. When it comes to streaming, most people do not care, at least currently. That's one of those technologies people are going to have to experience, see if it's for them. But remote play, it's been around forever. It's not worth my time to crush this one. Let's move on. Number 4, PS5 Pro coming at launch. Yes, you heard me right. According to Japanese analysts, there will be a PlayStation 5 Pro, or rather 2 models, at launch. If this sounds familiar, it's because Xbox Scarlett was once 2 different models. The idea here is that one PlayStation will launch at a much cheaper price point than the other, meeting 2 different markets. A low-end model from anywhere between $300 to $400 that most people, aka the casuals, would purchase, and an uber high-end that would obviously give you the least compromised versions of those console games, one being significantly faster than the other for about $200 more than the other. I understand the strategy. I do understand it does offer complications as well. Again, Scarlett was once a family of devices. It could still be, but as of right now, Microsoft are only announcing one console. Maybe the other will be announced a year later or so. Kind of like Nvidia does, where they'll reveal their high-end graphics cards 1 year, and then about a year later they'll reveal the medium range cards. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not really sure this is happening. You have a bunch of analysts saying that something like this could happen, but on the other hand, you have just as many saying that it's not going to happen. One thing is certain though, this is pure speculation on behalf of what culture, and that to me is not quite good enough to be one of the 10 reasons that the PlayStation 5 will destroy the next Xbox. Let me know your thoughts down below. So we are finally getting to the bottom 3 numbers here, and hey, they've got to be good. They are 1, 2, and 3. Come on now. So number 3, Sony are acquiring new studios and building new projects, and you know what? This is actually a good reason. Now, while newly acquired talents are pretty much guaranteed to be working on a Spider-Man sequel, there isn't really too much outside of Insomniac that Sony have acquired, at least as of right now. But if they are doing anything like Microsoft are doing, they are definitely trying to stack the deck. The future is one of services, one of software, and to power those services, you need compelling game titles on those services. That is why eventually everything will go to PlayStation Now day and date. It is inevitable, much like crossplay, much like the ability to stream. Even though most of us are not fans of streaming, will never prefer it over local hardware, it will inevitably improve to the point where it is a very viable option for a lot of people. Services like Game Pass and PlayStation Now are definitely going to be a massive focus for both brands going forward. And obviously, to power those services, you need quality content. And I'm talking about games that are now in development going forward. So yes, software will be key. It's definitely been about the game. It's also about the performance and visuals of these games as well. I don't think it's any one thing. I think it's a total package. Only difference is, as of now, Microsoft offer more flexibility with your purchase. You pay full price for that title, you should be able to play it on the devices you want to play it on. Right now, Microsoft do a much better job at allowing that with things like Play Anywhere. So I would definitely say, yeah, hey, this number 3 spot could definitely be accurate. Software and of course new studios are a big deal. Let me know your thoughts down below. The number 2 spot, the exclusives lineup is amazing and diverse. Now this one's kind of hit or miss here because when it comes to first party, Sony isn't really super diverse. Look, there's no real great way for me to tackle this, but in my opinion, a lot of these games are kind of similar, but they're amazing. That's the thing about them. I've always praised a lot of these games. I really enjoy a lot of these games, but there's no getting around it. A lot of them are over-the-shoulder, third-person, action-adventure type games, something I think Xbox needs more of. Now, of course, they've also got games like Gran Turismo and MLB, you know, racing games, a sports game. But at the end of the day, when it comes to first party, the games they make themselves, not third party making first party IPs or anything like that, the diversity isn't off the charts. Not in my opinion. I know I'm gonna have a ton of people crying in the comment sections about this part of the video because I forgot X, Y, or Z, but at the end of the day, I probably did it on both sides. I know I definitely did it on both sides. But hey, you guys can argue this out in the comments. It is what it is. I just don't think anyone's gonna win here. But when it comes to this article, the number 2 spot is not a bad thing. But listing this at number 2 and forgetting that Microsoft are probably gonna have the highest rated first-person shooter out there, which is going to be Halo Infinite. They've got an amazing game in Gears of War 5 that has co-op, competitive multiplayer, fantastic story. They've got what are the highest rated racers with the Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon series. It is confirmed that Playground Games are also working on a massive RPG for Microsoft as well. You also have the legendary studio Obsidian, who are working on a brand new massive cutting-edge RPG as well. You've got studios that are really true examples of diversity in Exile, who are working on Wasteland 3, really a top-down strategy game that you don't see too much of these days. You've of course got big games like Minecraft that are great for kids. I say Microsoft actually have a pretty diverse first party right now. Add to all of that studios like Ninja Theory, Undead Labs, and of course their brand new quadruple A studio, The Initiative, and it's silly to assume that there will be no competition. In fact, 2020 is kind of the year that it all kicks off with some of their biggest new games. And as you just heard about, there are a ton of studios, many of which working on more than one title. So yeah, basically, I think Microsoft are more diversified than people think when it comes to their portfolio, and ever expanding. The worst case scenario is that they are at least just as diverse in the games that they produce as Sony are, at least in my opinion. So just like Sony, Microsoft have a ton of software in development. Now we just have to hope that everybody makes the best game that they can possibly make. We all want to benefit from quality software. Just to be clear, I'm not saying one side will do better than the other, but I am saying there will be the best competition we've had in 10 years between the two brands. Anybody who says otherwise may not know what they're talking about. And unfortunately, this article kind of makes it sound like Microsoft are not really going to be able to compete. But hey, we'll see. So we're finally to the number one slot. And yes, I know it's a long video, but man, imagine editing this thing, right? Number one, what do you think it is? Could it be some kind of crazy new technology, perhaps a radical pro-consumer policy? Maybe Sony have some kind of ace up their sleeve? Well, no, it's backwards compatibility with every PlayStation generation. Yes, this is number one. Now, first and foremost, what culture? Please do not put backwards compatibility at the number one slot as to reasons PS5 will dominate Project Scarlett, when the Xbox One has been doing back compat with every single generation of Xbox One for years already. And guess what? They pioneered new software techniques to improve older games as well. It's also been confirmed that the next Xbox is going to do the same thing. You're going to be able to play the original Xbox games, the 360 games you can play as well, on top of the Xbox One, and Xbox One X enhanced games too. Not only will these games load lightning fast due to the SSD in the Project Scarlett, but they'll have things like better texture filtering by default. On top of all that, what culture's claim of backwards compatibility with every PlayStation generation comes from, again, nothing that is solid. And that's kind of the problem with the article. There's not even enough technology in the writing to even theorize on how this is going to work. Again, just an observation. But either way, even if it was confirmed, even if they somehow found a way to emulate the cell processor on the PS5, which remember the whole point of Gaikai was to stream old PS3 games to your PS4, because they couldn't find a way to emulate that cell architecture, well, safe to say it still would matter because the Xbox is doing the same thing. So, all in all, a little underwhelming, honestly. I kind of expected your number one reason to be something better, and I honestly did not read the number one reason before I got to this spot. Let me know what you think of their list of the 10 reasons PlayStation 5 is going to dominate the Scarlett, because in my opinion, this is not even close to enough. I also think they neglect the fact that Microsoft are doing a lot of the same things. They neglect the fact that software is definitely the biggest priority and they've over doubled their studios in a year's time. I think they neglect the fact that Microsoft have some massive IP and a very diverse lineup. I think they neglect the fact that a lot of things on this list that the PlayStation 5 is going to destroy the Xbox with, the Xbox has already been doing all generation. But again, you know, an observation. But hey, I know it's not the popular thing to do, but you know, I prefer playing on Xbox, and that's fine. I think that's fine. That should be allowed, right? Everyone's got their own preference, their own opinions, and while we get a ton of Xbox is dying videos and Xbox is dead and the fall of Xbox, you just don't see too many people pushing videos out like this, and I think it's because they don't really go anywhere. There's not enough fear-mongering and hatred and negativity in them, so people don't really share them. So that's why I'm saying, depending on how well this video does, I may do more, and of course they'll be better. Let me know your thoughts about all of these points and how you would counter them, what you think the points might actually be, because surely there are better ones than this. And let me know the Xbox Scarlett points as to why it would destroy the PS5 next generation, which is another video I could do. Also, for those that happen to care, we finally have official merch for both this YouTube channel and my podcast, Real Deal Xbox Podcast. I'd imagine that if you're still around, you probably are a big supporter of what we do, and you can finally buy merch based off of a lot of this stuff. So hey, I'll be updating this over time. I've tried to keep everything as affordable as possible while offering different materials for people that might have a little bit more money to spend. And again, it all goes to support the content you see on this channel. That link is down below. I will be updating that store regularly and taking feedback into account. Again, you can find the link to that merch store down in the description or on my Twitter at dealer_gaming. Again, any support you can lend to this video would be absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much. Hit that like button. Maybe share this with you know, everyone you know. That'd be great. Subscribe if you're into this kind of stuff. Let me know your thoughts. Once more, check out the links down below, including the source. And I know I have one or two people saying, why give this article attention? Like, this is what they want. You know what? I don't care. What I want is to deconstruct stuff like this, because I think it's important to offer opposing points of view here. Think about it. I could just roll with the crowd and try to shit on the box, or just leave it where it is. But you know what? I'm going to speak up and kind of offer a little bit of an opinion and an opposing view here. So again, let me know yours down below. Thanks for everything. I'm Dealer. I'm out.